Greetings, everybody. I'm here with my co-host, Ben Creighton. We're going to be showing you a Group D upper bracket matchup between jmeasher and Eriror. Eriror getting here by defeating Cassidy Moan, and jmeasher getting here by sorry, I had a bit of audio ping. jmeasher defeated Revenant. So, Ben, how are you feeling today?
Feeling good. This is, of course, the final matchup of Group D, match one between these two runners. The winner will go on to brackets, and it looks like Revenant did take the losers round, so he's going to be facing off against the loser of this matchup in the tiebreaker round.
Yeah, and this one's sure to be a good one here. We've got both of these runners well known throughout this community. jmeasher, veteran of the randomizer community, has had a great run so far. Eriror, also well known for both NMG and randomizer. Just Eriror's fresh off setting the Master Sword No Major Glitches category world record. So props to him. You should go check that out after this.
Absolutely. There are no easy groups in the main tournament this year, if there ever were, but especially this year of all years. The general skill level has just been going up, the community's been growing, so no free wins today.
So like every other tournament race this year, this is going to be a standard start, so we'll see both these runners starting off. Uncle just giving us a nice quick high, and then we'll get to go and see what weapon we get from the escape and get to check out this first chest. That's really nice, actually, to get those 3 bombs here, because now they're not going to have to worry about getting bombs in escape. Hopefully, Uncle doesn't insult us by giving us a 10-bomb start to make those bombs completely mute.
You know, I don't think I've seen a single bomb start in in all the matches I've commentated here in the group stage, or even in the ones I've played over in the Challenge Cup. So I'm going to be a contrarian and hope for a bomb start today.
All right, we'll see. I'm hoping for Fire Rod. I haven't gotten to see one of those yet.
Oh, you get your wish.
Let's go. Off to a good start. So one of the things about Fire Rod starts, it's a really great weapon for killing enemies. It one-shots everything in escape, but you only get a few shots with it. So you got to really be careful about your magic usage.
Yep, and with that Fire Rod, that 3-bomb stack in Link's house is going to be even more valuable. You don't want to be spending magic trying to farm bombs from guards.
Absolutely. The Fire Rod is not a very nice weapon to farm, because even some of the other web magic weapons like Cane of Burna or Cane of Samari, you can at least get a lot of kills per magic by like getting all those snakes that are in a corner. But with the Fire Rod, you're basically going to be able to get 1, maybe 2. So you really like to get those bombs early when not to worry about farming with the Fire Rod.
Oh, and speaking of Burna, if you feel like saving your magic today, there's your discount option.
Yeah, it's kind of uncanny how frequently we've seen these runners go through escape with one weapon and then just get a different Uncle weapon later in escape. So the trend continues getting Burna after having the Fire Rod. So this escape is really a good place to see just the sort of little things that the runners do to make their escape just go a little bit faster, because everybody does it the same step at the beginning. And really the only way to save any time is just to execute this game a little bit better. Get through your doors cleaner, take quicker routes through the rooms. You don't have to worry about any sort of like routing like you will later in the seed.
Yep, sometimes you get a little more of that early divergence when you're having to worry about farming and prize packs, but today it's all execution.
Yeah, seeing jmeasher get a little bit unlucky there with the RNG and the guard being procced and chasing him, and with the Fire Rod, you can't really afford to dispatch him as easily.
Yep, and of course, all of this feels like the utmost importance when it's all the difference that we have to watch, but 6 minutes in, both of these guys will be out of escape, and give it another hour, and we will have no idea who was ahead.
Oh, absolutely. You can easily a good escape or a bad escape. Like you could take a death and escape and lose a minute and a half, but a minute and a half could easily be made up for routing throughout the. There's still a lot of the seed left to go. But on the flip side, it is always nice to go out of escape feeling good, not have to worry about going on tilt or anything, just feeling good about your escape.
Yep, the best feeling, of course, being when you manage to squeak out that bomb drop off of an enemy and think, you know, maybe the other guy missed it. Maybe whatever I find in the back is just mine for a while. Won't be the case today.
Absolutely, especially when you find something like the flute or the glove back there that you know is going to give you a pretty immediate advantage on anyone that did not get it. jmeasher getting some nice snake RNG over there, though, getting to be able to just walk right past all of them.
Yep, the bats in the next corridor got their revenge, though. jmeasher having some bad luck with enemy patterns so far today.
You see jmeasher using the Cane of Burna, maybe wanting to check the prize pack for the rats, try to get some extra bombs for Kakariko. And Eriror missing the bomb throw a little bit. You don't normally bomb that well in the NMV, so some muscle memory perhaps. And 10 bombs, so you have both these runners will be set for Kakariko, and 3 more are for a good measure. It's always nice when you can go into Kakariko with a full bomb pocket.
Absolutely. Knowing that you'll have plenty to bomb all those bombable walls and enough left over to take care of Mini Moldorm Cave, even if you don't find any between here and there.
So both these runners going to be right on top of each other, getting some nice time. About a 550, depending on when you time this. There's our first sword too, so yet another weapon through escape.
Always nice to get that early fighter sword, especially when you have not found a weapon yet that doesn't require, in this case, magic or some sort of ammo management.
For sure, and it also will just help you get through any of the early dark rooms just a little bit faster, like the Old Man or the Eastern Palace dark rooms, should you decide to do those early.
Just finding hearts in the tree pole. Looks like we're not going to see an early lumberjack check quite yet, which stands to reason. That's something that runners are more likely to do if they're still hoping for more chances to farm bombs or rupees, and both of our runners are in good shape there. Eriror does save and quit out of the Lost Woods hut. Let's see where he goes.
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of different plays in this tournament where you like to skip Kakariko early, and we see a quick map check there, seeing a red crystal on Tower of Hera and 2 normal crystals on Desert and Eastern. But yeah, Eriror electing to go for the south route first, and you can get some advantages here. So say, for instance, you get a glove and you take the south route through Kakariko, you can combo in a check of the mountain a little earlier, or if you were to get both gloves and the Moon Pearl, you could combo in Village of Outcasts if you took the south route through Kakariko. So there's some interesting opportunities you can get by saving Kakariko. And there's a good one there, Eriror getting his flute. Now when he goes to Kakariko the first time, he'll be able to just activate that right away.
Yep, that's exactly what you're hoping for. The other item that could come in handy would be a bottle to route in that sick kid check with the first run through Kakariko, but that early flute is going to be very nice for opening up some routing options.
Also going to see the bug catching net over there in the dam. And Bion's Hut didn't have too much either on jmeasher's side, just got a boomerang. All right, let's take our first look at Kakariko Well and Mini Moldorm Cave. Just a 20 in the first check of the well. Let's see what's in the bombable back. And we'll also get our first look at Mini Moldorm Cave simultaneously. Just some bombs there in the back of the well. Piece of a heart container. The mirror over on jmeasher's side, that's a nice one to get early. And nothing in Mini Moldorm Cave.
Yep, and Eriror shouldn't be too far behind in grabbing that mirror. Probably gonna head over to Cack at this point and then flute back if he decides that Ice Rod Cave is the way to go today.
Yeah, getting that flute makes it so that you don't feel the need to walk up to Ice Rod Cave right after Mini Moldorm Cave, because you can really just go up there at basically any time. Just flute to 8, it's not going to get any slower.
Yep, also very nice for making it a little easier to route in a couple of those other out-of-the-way early checks, like your Agina Cave, potentially Zora, when there's enough money for it.
And we see our first green 20 over there on jmeasher's side. That has to be an armor upgrade, because we don't have anything else that could get converted to a green 20 at this time.
Yep, and Ares found the lamp on the race game, decided to check it first, and it looks like he is going to go collect it. Not strictly required, given our runner's knowledge of dark rooms, but it's definitely a nice to have, especially this early, and also for much later on, for getting the torch glitch on Ganon more easily.
Yeah, for sure. We don't have to worry about that being our first fire source, having gotten the fire rod really early, but just if you can get it early before any of the dark rooms, the time you spent picking it up versus the time you'll save going through your dark rooms in the light, and also the potential Ganon insurance, say we get forced into Master Sword Ganon with no half magic, you'll definitely appreciate having that lamp. But on the flip side, that lamp is putting our friend Aghanim closer into play. I'm still not worried about it if I'm at this point, but you're at least thinking about it.
Yeah, we need only Master Sword or Cape to put it into logic, but until the Moon Pearl rears its head, it's not much of an issue, only opening up the one pyramid check.
Chat asking about Lumberjack. Neither of these runners elected to choose it, so we do not know what is on Lumberjack. So at this point, both of the runners are kind of just covering up each other's steps. So as far as new checks that we've got Agina and Ice Rod Cave, and then we have the mountain with Tower of Hera.
Yep, the mountain would be an obvious next place to go, just with that mirror opening up Tower of Hera, making that a completable crystal dungeon. Another option might be Sage's Closet, or possibly even an early Eastern dip, but it's always hard to justify a dip into an uncompletable dungeon when there's a completable one ahead of you.
Absolutely. And the one concern you could have is that you might get your hook shot or something, or the hammer that would give you more access to the mountain. You might want to save that, but Tower of Hera is kind of out of the way to get to anyway, so you don't really lose much doing that the first go up. All right, jmeasher is going to go over and activate that flute, and then we'll see where he decides to go next. So, Ben, where do you think would be the next play to go after the South Shore and the Kakariko checks here? Do you go to the Saha's Hut first, or the mountain? What do you think you'd do in this situation?
Personally, I'm a fan of the early Agina check. When you have that early flute, just cross it off your list, get that peace of mind. It's such a common last location that can easily bite you. But there are definitely a lot of runners that would wait until at least Boots to make that crossing of the desert from the flute spot a little quicker. So I certainly wouldn't blame them for going straight to the mountain.
That's a very good point. Aghanim can be a really nice defensive check, because you don't want to risk like there being the hammer in there and your opponent getting it, but you not getting it so much later.
And by the same token, I think jmeasher making both of our runners, it turns out, making a pretty safe play, just knocking out this Ice Rod Cave. could become a little faster with the boots, but not by much.
Yeah, it'd be nice to be able to water walk in some flipper checks from here, but these guys not really worried about that. Those are not in logic. Even Zora is still out of logic. And there we see the hook shot, so definitely a good decision, because now when they climb the mountain, they can do the east side of Death Mountain as well.
Yep, and that also opens up the possibility of a Hera pot to make Hera a little quicker and cleaner, so definitely rewarded for the safe play there.
Both these runners thinking the exact same thing. Now they know they got so much density up here in the mountain. No reason to delay going up here.
Yeah, at this high level of play, I think doing Agina and Ice Rod before hitting Mountain would be perhaps excessively safe. You've got to figure your opponent's going to be making some skips. You can't always play the safest route possible and expect to win.
For sure. I guess, and really, what else could you get? I mean, you could get a glove and then get another glove and the Moon Pearl up here. That's kind of outlandish for that, because that would allow you to do Dark Death Mountain while you're up here. But if you don't get those items, you can pretty much already do everything. I guess you'd have to get a hammer and one glove to do Spike Cave with the Moon Pearl. It's just not likely that you're going to be able to combo in much more based off what Agina gives you.
Yeah, agreed. A book would let you check the tablet, but you wouldn't even be able to collect it. It'd be an iffy play. I definitely like splitting the difference, finding your value, and then getting up here.
And we'll see these two runners electing to do opposite sides of the mountain first. And we see our Dark World map check, which is showing our other red on Thieves Town, our green pendant on Ice Palace, and then our other two pendants on Turtle Rock and Mire. So we might not need any medallions or the Cane of Samaria today.
Yep, that's a heck of a generous pendant setup, assuming that there aren't any required pendant items in those dungeons. And ooh, that was the book and a glove there in Paradox Cave.
Yeah, that's a really big win for Eriror's routing, because that Ether Tablet is going to be a pretty heavily orphaned location on jmeasher's side, because he won't get the book till he goes over here. And if we don't get the hammer, it's going to be a really long trek to get back up there. Meanwhile, Eriror will have it right away and just be able to check it. He won't be able to get the item, but it's as good as if you just know what's up there.
jmeasher setting up his Hera pot, the slightly slower bootsless setup. And it looks like he does miss it the first time. This is a bit of a tricky setup requiring pixel perfect positioning. And you're on a timer. That fuse is running down.
Yeah, pixel perfect for both the bomb and the your own placement. Like, there's multiple different ways. It's basically there's a combo of position between bomb and player, and we see jmeasher able to get it on the second try, which is really nice. That is not easy to pull off without having the boots.
Oh, and there's the other glove in the Hera big chest.
Yeah, so the one scenario where you might feel bad skipping Agina could come to pass if the other glove is at Agina, or the Moon Pearl's at Agina, my mistake. Then you would be able to do this. Go to the east side to Dark Death Mountain right after.
Yep, as it is. I'm running through where that Moon Pearl could be hiding if it's
yeah, we got
Agina. Seems likely not on the mountain, yeah.
Agina, we got Saha plus however many items in Eastern we can get to, and now Zora's in logic now that we have a glove, but neither of these people have the money to do that.
Yep, the Sage's Closet into Eastern would seem like the safe play here. That's where all the check density is.
Yeah, it might be arguable to do an Agina check right before, because it might bail you out of having to do bowless Eastern, or perhaps even give you a bow, but I guess that's up for the runners to decide.
And that was a small key on Moldworm. I wasn't paying attention. Did we see the other Hera item?
I did not. I was not counting items either.
Just a heart container on the tablet, and we'll get another chance to check that out. I'll pay special attention to Ares' side here.
Chat pointing out also that the Moon Pearl could be in Checkerboard Cave, which is actually something that occurred last night in a race I was commentating. So it's always a fun location for that to be there.
Chat also saying that the other Hera item was bombs. Thank you, chat. So no orphaned basement item today.
Yeah, it's always great when you just don't have to worry about getting any extra items in Tower of Hera, because either doing a Hera pod and skipping the big chest or just skipping the item in the basement, both are just such bad checks to come back to.
Oh, and I just realized with that book, desert is also a possibility, possibly even full clearable if it's not boots locked.
Yeah, we can get into desert both ways, with both the flute, mirror, and Titan's Mitts, and with the book. So that makes the Agena play a little bit more appealing. And also you can check to see if Desert Palace is boots locked. So I think thinking that through, it might be worth that for the runners through that next. It's got 4 items if you count actually the ledge included. And we also have Checkerboard Cave. So this is the densest location. It gives us a lot of good information. Probably where they want to head next. You see a nice Moldarm fight there by Eriror. He can always be annoying when you have to deal with him the normal way with the fighter sword, but Eriror is quite used to that fight.
Meanwhile, jmeasher making the slow walk through Spiral Cave without the boots. I don't believe we saw this on Ares' side. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't believe we did either.
Just 20 bucks.
Doing the quick check to make sure it didn't leave an item behind in Tower of Hera. Always worth the peace of mind to not have to come back here. And we see both the runners simultaneously deciding the desert is the right call right now.
Yep, nice piece of sync, followed by a desync as jmeasher decides to go through the front door and Ares gonna whip out the mirror.
Yeah, I think that what Eriror is doing makes a lot of sense if you want to try to also check Checkerboard Cave, and you could even do this Meyer Shed out of logic if you do the Super Bunny glitch with either the mirror or the damage boost.
Yep, I believe it does also make Desert a little quicker to clear with that mirror able to take you over to that left entrance.
It's not boots locked today, so both these runners will be able to clear out this dungeon. Haven't seen the other item yet in Desert, just saw the 50 bucks on the lamp.
Yep, jmeasher grabbing his big key, and then a 50-50 shot whether that last item is in the big chest or hiding behind landmollas. And we did get a quick check at the Meyer entrance requirement. I missed it, but according to our eagle-eyed tracker, it is Ether today.
Yeah, Tracker's always doing a good job of keeping the commentators all honest, so definitely shout-outs to Scoopula.
And that second item, just a piece of heart in the big chest.
Yep, so no more help in here in Desert. So it's kind of a little bit early, but given our very nice pendant layout, we can actually start to think about what do we need to complete the seed. Now, granted, there's going to be big question marks because Kane of Samaria is a big question mark based off the GT Big Key layout, because we don't need that for any of our dungeons, but we could need it for Ganon's Tower. But we're definitely going to need the hammer and the bow, and I think that might even just be it to do the rest of our crystals.
Yep, once we find the Moon Pearl for Dark World access, of course.
Yes. Yeah, it's so weird when the Moon Pearl is one of they're 3 items away from possible go mode, and one of them is the Moon Pearl.
Yep, of course that's possible with a big asterisk, because Besides the Samaria and GT, there's also always that 1 in 22 chance that the GT big key is boots locked.
Yeah, it's like a 17 and 22% go mode. It's the area dispatch the Lamolas very quickly with that fire rod. It's always nice when you have the fire rod or the silvers to deal with them, getting his second crystal.
Looks like Ari went straight to the boss, hoping to find the item. He'll have to grab his piece of heart from the big chest before continuing on to almost certainly Checkerboard Cave and Agina before leaving this area. So 2 more checks for him.
For sure. And jmeasher unfortunately missed one of the fire rod shots and had to chip away at that last Lamola with the sword, but able to defeat it, also collect his second crystal.
Yep, and chat reminding us flippers will also be necessary for go mode with Swamp Palace in the mix.
Ah, yes. And that sword. But the sword, there's a sword along the way, right? There's no way the sword is going to be hiding from us.
Yeah, it's tough to get too worried about a sword this early in the game. Once you start making a beeline towards GT, if you're still rocking Fighter Sword, that's when that starts to weigh on your mind. And there it is, Moon Pearl in Checkerboard.
Yeah, it's always funny when you see that in there because it's not. If you're just new to this randomizer, you wouldn't think that you can. That's going to be an okay spot for the Moon Pearl, but it's perfectly fine. And it looks like that looks like Quake over there on jmeasher's side. And it looks like jmeasher's going for the Super Bunny glitch. He'll be a bit annoyed when he sees that the Moon Pearl's is over at Checkerboard Cave, spending this time trying to set up Super Bunny.
And yeah, looks like our Scoople, our tracker, did update things. Meyer is locked by Quake, so that's a medallion that our runners are hoping not to see today.
Yep, definitely rooting for Quake in Ganon's Tower. And we see jmeasher able to pull off the Super Bunny glitch and collect the bombs and the piece of heart. And will feel a little bit insulted, I'm sure, when he goes over to the Checkerboard Cave and the game gives him his Moon Pearl. All right, so now we'll see where Eriror decides to go. I'm thinking that you probably want to go to the Village of Outcasts just because the only issue is you might end up orphaning the big key, the big chest in Thieves Town if you get to that point, but there's also a lot of other things you can do. But it looks like he's actually decided to do Dark Death Mountain first, which also makes sense. There's a lot of items over here with the hookshot. You can do Super Bunny and Hookshot Cave.
Yep, you can get a little intel on if there's another medallion that you're hoping not to find for the Turtle Rock entrance requirement. And if you luck out and find something like boots that your opponent might skip, it could be a big payday.
Oh, and Eriror hasn't done his map check yet, so I guess it's even more worth it for him because he doesn't know that TR is a pendant.
Meanwhile, jmeasher whipping out his flute. Let's see where he goes. Skullwoods would be a pretty obvious first step. It's a crystal. It's full clearable. Bit of a light loadout with only 6 hearts and fighter sword. That can be a rough moth fight even for talented runners such as we're watching here today.
Absolutely. It's about as bad of a fight as you can legally do in this mode. And we're seeing Eriror pick up the Master Sword, which would really help for his future moth fight. But yeah, with this, 7 hearts, 6 hearts fighter sword, no half magic, no hammer, it'll be quite the show to see jmeasher be able to pull this off.
Yep, no bottle even for safety. No powder for anti-fairies. But jmeasher's not scared. He's going straight to the back.
Yep, when you're in the main tournament, you got to be confident in your abilities to be able to try even these really challenging boss fights. Look, Hookshot Cave turning up pretty empty over there for Eriror, but that Master Sword will definitely be helpful for him.
And it looks like that was a Bombos medallion to open up Turtle Rock today.
Yep, so now we got 2 medallions, hoping not to see. It is good to know that just in case you get shoved down into a situation where you are looking for one item, like the flippers or something, and it could be in Turtle Rock. So definitely useful knowledge, but you still don't ever want to have to go there. Looks like Eriror is following jmeasher up into Skullwoods.
And that's a heart container in the bridge chest. Not the most helpful thing you could find, but not the worst either. Every little bit helps against that moth.
Absolutely. If you're gonna get a heart, please, that's one of the good places to get it, because Moth's body does 2 hearts of damage. The spikes does just 1, so it's nice to be able to take 3 hits from Moth without dying.
Ooh, jmeasher taking a couple of unfortunate body shots from the mini Moldorm there. Ooh.
Yeah, this is rough.
This is one of those little segments of the dungeon where there are so many spots to take just a little damage here, a little damage there. Eri taking a hit and then getting a lucky fairy spawn to negate it.
Yeah, so I'm definitely fully nervous about this blind fight, but jmeasher is doing a really good job with it so far. See if he can keep it up.
Yeah, he is ducking and weaving like a pro, alternating between fire rod and sword hits. He's out of magic, 3 hearts left. He makes it!
That is an impressive fight right there. Like, it's hard to state just how hard. Going in there with 2 hearts in the fighter's sword, or 3 hearts, whatever he was at, and he only had about half his magic, so that's a really impressive fight right there.
Absolutely, and one of the more RNG-dependent fights. There's no script to memorize. All you can rely on is your own reaction time. Eri saving a couple of fire rod shots in the torch room there. He's heading into this fight in slightly better shape than jmeasher did, but still not an easy fight for him by any means.
Yeah, and we see jmeasher's not electing to check the pedestal, which, if you understand like what those pendants require, makes a lot of sense, because I think the only thing that can be up there is our bow. And there's another bow somewhere in the world. I guess the boots could be up there for GT Big Key. And we're also seeing Eriror get to really take advantage of that Master Sword. Master Sword makes Mothula a whole lot easier, because it only takes 4 Master Sword spins to defeat Mothula. Eriror will give us the pedestal check, so we'll see if it is one of our bows. I don't think it can be anything else except perhaps the boots that would help us beat the seed.
Yep, I think you're right.
Looks like the last item in Skullwoods is hiding pretty deep. jmeasher is going through the front trying to find that one.
Yep, and Ped is indeed dead. Just some couch cash and a second heart container is all that was hiding in the front of Skull.
It's definitely nice to get a key there, because otherwise jmeasher would have to go and find the key in the other room, or else be locked out and have to save and quit. It looks like jmeasher's going over to do his North Dark World checks. Probably get to check out the bumper ledge, perhaps go over to Lumberjack as well with Emir. And there's the flippers, so definitely we'll need to get those.
Yep, very nice find. We're gonna need it sooner or later. Opens up 1 check in Skullwoods, but more importantly, that'll open up some checks in the Zora area.
Yeah, and kind of scarily, though, it also opens up Green Pendant Ice Palace. So I'm sure the runners are not looking to do that anytime soon. They've got a lot of other good checks to go, but it's going to be in the back of your mind. looks like jmeasher is electing to skip Lumberjack, which not a terrible play. You don't have the boots yet.
Yep, looks like he is going to head over to Graveyard Ledge. Bit of a slow check, but once you get it crossed off your list, it's a lot of peace of mind.
Yeah, and we'll see if jmeasher elects to just quit. I think you probably have to go to the east side of Dark World from here. Seeing those flippers there and only having the Titan's Mist, there's really no other good way to get to the east side of the Dark World other than walking like they're doing now. Because you got to think with only having the Mist, they could do some South Dark World stuff like Hype Cave, but perhaps these runners were considering sequence breaking. Though it looks like jmeasher is going to go back west and perhaps check Hype Cave in the south of Village Valcast, Thieves Town area.
Yeah, once again, following the crystals is seldom a bad decision. Eri does give us our Lumberjack check. Looks like there's a bottle in there, which we haven't seen one yet. Sick Kid's still out there, but that would be a first for me, seeing a bottle in a spot like that be logically required for Sick Kid.
Yeah, you'd have to have like 3 bottles in GT and Sick Kid have our first bow. Or same idea with the hammer, and we need to find the boots first. All right, yeah, both runners deciding to go over to Village Valcast. Makes a lot of sense. They can clear out the crystal in Thieves Town. You do have to worry about orphaning that big chest, but you can just hope that it has nothing in it.
Yep, and especially with no boots, I definitely agree with prioritizing the dungeon checks over the overworld at this point.
For sure, and you can always, the overworld's not going anywhere. You can do those after this, whereas you're gonna have to beat Thieves Town, and it's not really gonna get any faster no matter when you do it later. Just the only worry is that big chest. It does come back to bite you every now and then, but both these runners are making the same decision, so they'll both be equally rewarded or punished for it.
Yep, and it is, it's not exactly a big galaxy brain gamble. You gotta figure, even if this does come back to bite me, if this winds up being a last location situation, odds are the other guy's dealing with the same nonsense, so what have I lost?
Yeah, because there's just not, they can't beat any other crystal dungeons. So there's just not any other as good of options. They don't need to do that overworld yet. Because like, for instance, you don't want to start doing the South Overworld checks yet, because what if the hammer's in Thieves Town? Then you could folk your Swamp Palace when you get down there. So you would really like to get the information about these checks first before you go down there. And it looks like Eriror is deciding that he does not want to have to worry about orphaning that big chest in Thieves, and is going to at least do this chest and perhaps do the rest of the South Village Valcast.
Yep, it looks like there were, of the 4 items in Thieves Town, 2 were in the front, just bombs both times, and that small key did rear its ugly head, so it's looking a little more likely that there might be an orphaned item in that big chest. We'll just have to see.
And Chad is bringing up the possibility of the secret Aghanim requirement, where you have the hammer be behind the Pyramid Fairy. Since Thieves Town is our red crystal, we already have Tower of Hera. Both of these runners, they would be able to do a bomb dupe with the flippers to use the red bomb without having to do Aghanim, but it would be interesting to see if it ever comes to the point where that's a reasonable play to make.
And it looks like Eri's going to be taking our good friend Jeremiah back to his home. Pretty reasonable play here. Oh, but there's the hammer in the cracked floor room of Thieves Town. That's a huge find for jmeasher.
Absolutely. If Eriror decides to try to wait to do the hammer and does some extra overworld checks trying to not orphan that chest in Thieves Town, it could really come back to bite him. Because not only does that make sure you're not going to orphan this chest, it makes the rest of your seed routing pretty simple now. Because jmeasher now has the option to just go south from here, do some of these overworld checks, maybe not even all of them that Eriror's doing, and then go right into Swamp Palace. It's a crystal he can full clear. And even further after that, he could go up to Hype Cave and then do the red bomb with the pyramid ledge and probably get a bow by then. It could be really straightforward from here for what jmeasher is going to see.
Ooh, and the bow there in the maiden cell, the back of Thieves Town, holding all the value today. jmeasher is going to be able to head down, full clear Swamp Palace, knock out Eastern and Pod. This seed just opened way up for Measher.
Yeah, so am I correct in thinking that is our 17 divided by 22 go mode right there? jmeasher may not even elect to do any of the overworld, knowing that he's that close to being able to complete the seed.
Yeah, at that point, it becomes a reasonable play to just beeline GT and hope. He is going to need a sword, so he's going to have to do some checks, but...
Yeah, and there's that. We know that there's a sword on the way over in Super Bunny Cave, so he could even just go up. That'll be at one point. That'll be a really dense location for him. So I think it's really worth it for him to just rush the dungeons. Maybe you don't go mow the dungeons. Yeah, that would be. You want to get a sword, and maybe you don't want to orphan an item in there. But worst case scenario, you go to GT, can't get the big key, and then just have to come back down and do overworld checks you would have done anyway.
Yep. Meanwhile, Eri did find, I believe, a vanilla sword on the smiths there. At least it was somewhere in the smith chain. So he's on tempered right now. But yeah, sure enough, jmeasher whipping out that mirror, whipping out that flute, and heading straight for dungeons. And it's hard to blame him.
Absolutely. Yeah, that flute really gives the game away that he's going to do what we were mentioning and just go and do dungeons, because he is kind of... instead of doing the sort of checks that Eri is doing that are really dense and nice and efficient, it's much more efficient to just not do them if you don't have to. So he's just going to go in and do as many dungeons and then hopefully just be able to finish out the seed.
Yep, and I'm liking the play to Eastern and Pod. There's not much that you're going to find elsewhere that's going to make those much quicker, and if you happen to find your sword in here, well, then you feel extra safe skipping stuff like left side swamp that you might otherwise feel slightly iffy about.
Yeah, and this is also just the most dense set of dungeons. So, like, if you're going to be doing the sort of pseudo-go mode play like this, you might as well get the more items out of the way, because maybe you get the Cane of Samaria and think, okay, I'm okay with 1 out of 22 times my day getting ruined, much better than having 5 out of 22. So we really just have to wonder when Eriror is going to get pushed back to Thieves Town, because really every second he spends doing these overworld checks, it's just going to be straight up time loss.
Yeah, it's having made the decision to skip it in the first place. Like, do you go into pod hammerless, bowless, hoping to find something there?
Yeah, I think that it probably would be better to go to Thieves Town with. I think did they get 3 or 2 items? Maybe that affected the decision to leave in the front.
They did get 2 items in the front, because the 2 in the back were the hammer and that bow.
Yeah, so you can at least go there and get 1.5 items, basically. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll have to see.
Yeah, one hopes that after knocking out the Zora area stuff, that's when Eri makes the decision to turn back.
Now, on the flip side, if Eriror were to find the Cane of Samaria on one of these checks, then that would give him a lot of life, because then they could be one of the 4 checks on the right side of GT.
Yep, that's pretty much Aries. That's the big hope right now if you're an Airy fan, that one of these extra checks that he's making turns into that red cane, and it does wind up required for GT. That would be a big swing.
Because it's just, jmeasher's got such a clear route to just clear out dungeons and then go up to GT. It's really just up to execution for him now. Alright, let's see where Eriror decides to go here. Walking this way makes me kind of worried that he might be thinking Ice Palace. Oh yeah, the portal, that's a good point. But this looks like going over to Pod. And so, given that they haven't done Eastern and Saha yet, like this makes sense. Do you remember if Pod was bow locked or not, Ben?
That is a good question. I believe jmeasher went straight up the right, found his big key, and went straight to Helma, but I don't recall what was in that first chest.
I see jmeasher going over into the Helmasaur fight, not even worrying about holding out the sword, just going right at him with the hammer. Gonna have to be
a
careful.
little bit careful here. Yeah, whipping out the bow, getting that last couple of hits off from a safe distance. Yeah,
it's pretty hard to hit the jewel on Helmasaur's head without using the spin speed glitch. With the holding out the sword is a more precise, because you have to worry about not bonking his body with the sword. But definitely good on jmeasher there to get that fight done.
Yep. Meanwhile, Eri giving us our first look here at the Sage's Closet. No value there, and chat pointing out there is a second bow that is there to be found. Won't help with that hammer.
We'll also get our first look at some Eastern Palace text from jmeasher. Looks like he's still going to check. You still have to check these checks because you never know what the big key is going to be in Eastern, so definitely don't want to risk skipping any. Yeah, for those of you just joining us, basically, Thieves Town has both a hammer and a bow. Eriror, seeing the small key in the first 4, decided to duck out of Thieves Town after checking the first 4, whereas jmeasher went all the way to the back and got his hammer and bow. So, and then from there, jmeasher has all the items he needs to complete his crystals, and is just going to go through and hope he doesn't get the 5 out of 22 GT big key on torch or right side.
And we got the answer to your earlier question. Pod was not bow locked, so at minimum, Eri's going to be checking all of these back of pod checks that jmeasher skipped.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe there could be a bow back there, which would at least save him from having to double dip this area. Well, actually, no, he still needs the hammer to beat Helmasaur. He'd be able to do Eastern.
And an answer to our question in chat, like the gloves, the armor, the swords, the shields, and a few other items like that, bows are a progressive item as of version 31 of the randomizer. The first one that you find will always be the bow with the wooden arrows. The second will upgrade that to silvers, except not in this mode, because we do play on hard item pool here in the main tournament, which means that the second bow found will be converted into a green 20.
Yeah, so will he, unless the one quirk about the bow is that if you see the bow in like an overworld location, it will still look like the silver arrows, but then when you pick it up, it'll be a green 20, so it can kind of bait you like that. Sometimes you can use that to figure out where the other bow was, but if you get it from like a chest, it'll just look like a green 20. And we'll see jmeasher going for the Armos quick kill. We'll see if he's able to get it. Looks nice so far. And he's able to pull it off. Very nice. It's 10 arrows. 10 arrow rebate on the 18 he spent beating the Armos.
It's always a good feeling coming out of that Armos fight. I always find myself eyeing my arrows, calculating how long do I have before that mimic room in GT. Where can I get some?
Yeah, for sure. With having the only one dungeon left, you definitely want to be concerned about that, because if you get the early GT big key, none of the arrow pots are early in GT. They're all pretty late.
jmeasher is still taking time out to do at least the quick and easy checks, like Sage's Closet here. Does not want to be caught in a situation where he's missing a Master Sword or the means to grab that GT big key. But that comes up dry, and he's gonna go down where it's better, down where it's wetter, under the Swamp Palace.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense checking these chests for jmeasher just because he's still on the fighter sword. Because on the one hand, you're thinking, okay, this seed was pretty straightforward and linear with regards to where our best options were. And so you got to be worried that, like, oh, did Eriror just make the same play as me? Because then it's just going to be a big execution race against someone like Eriror. You know you're not going to have a lot of time to do extra checks. So you definitely want to go as fast as possible. But with the fighter sword, if you get an extra sword here, you'll save enough time, and we need to get another sword at some point if we want to beat this game. So I'm thinking that green 20 in Ipe Cave is probably just a mail upgrade. It could also be a heart container if that's how we've gotten up to this many hearts, but probably armor. Chat asking about the other two swords. There is one sword in Super Bunny Cave and one sword on the blacksmiths. So it's fully expect jmeasher to get the one in Super Bunny Cave on his way up to GT. Probably not going to get that one on the smiths.
Yeah, unless he should happen to get both boots and the red cane before finding himself in that situation. That's one hard required item, the sword upgrade, and then two possibly required items for true go mode. He's not going to want to leave those easy checks behind.
So I would expect jmeasher probably not going to do a left side swap here. We'll do that bomb chest, but not left side.
Chat asking, oh, there's a Quake in the eastern big chest.
Yeah, it's not a good item to get, because that does give Misery Mire access, though. It would be surprising, I think, to see him fuse the items in a Misery Mire over the ones in Thieves Town, given that Thieves Town's a crystal. Let's see where Ari is designed to go. I guess we haven't seen Sick Kid yet. Maybe he has another bow. Nope, just trading fetch quests today. So it looks like we will see Eriror go into Thieves Town, because you figure that he's got that powder. We want to turn it in, but without the hammer, you need to waste your portal. So probably want to check Thieves Town while he's over here, because he's running low on other checks. Meanwhile, see a nice bomb diver down pulled off first try by jmeasher. A very nice glitch to save a lot of time in Swamp Palace.
And Eri is heading into the back of Thieves Town, definitely running out of other reasonable places to check, but jmeasher has gotten himself a sizable lead in the meantime.
Though this could be one of the rare seeds where we see progression in Ganon's tower, because we may find something like Bombos Medallion and then end up needing Arcane of Samaria. So if your chat's out here rooting for their worst case scenario seeds, there's some things to think about in there. Seeing jmeasher do the fighter sword double spins on this Argus. This type of fight has become more popular than the old school menu boss fight where you switch over the hammer when you have fighter sword. And he's doing a pretty good job of it.
Yep, those double hookshot strats are harder than they look. Seems like the easiest thing in the world, but it takes some skill there.
Yeah, especially with the fighter sword, because you have to time your grabs quick enough so you can get both of them with a double hit, and you also need to make sure you don't get hit by one of the puffs, because if you're coming in here with low hearts, they do 2 hearts of damage, and it's pretty easy to get hit by them when you're trying to hookshot them that quickly. But we see jmeasher getting his 7th crystal, so we're going to play a nice little game over here in chat. Where you get to post pick a number between 1 and 22, where you think Ganon's Tower Big Key will be, and yeah, so if you're rooting for jmeasher, you're hoping it's not any number bigger than 17, because if it's one of those numbers, then he's going to have to leave and go find his red cane or boots. Yeah, I don't know. I tried starting the bot, so we'll see if that... okay, there we go. Bot is ready, so if you posted before the bot went good, you got a little bit baited, but yeah, that's how the life works sometimes. And Eriror has gotten his bad news. Both the hammer and the bow were here, and you gotta just be feeling terrible when you see that, because now you know you wasted all that time. You have to really hope your opponent made a similar play to you, otherwise you know you're in a lot of trouble.
Yep, and for runners who have been mirroring each other's decisions pretty closely up until that point, we of course know that was the big point of divergence. That was the decision that Eri made that was a little less conventional, and unfortunately it wound up biting him today.
Yeah, it's hard to think of a worst case scenario for that decision. Because like if it had just been the bow or just the hammer, and then one of the other item is hiding somewhere else, you could imagine a world where Eriror is able to catch up by just getting to that other item fast enough. But with it being both the bow and the hammer, and those being our 2 items we needed to do the rest of the dungeons, it's just so hard to come back from that.
Yep, at this point, it's all going to come down to that GT Big Key location. If it does wind up being hidden behind the boots or the red cane, we might still have a race.
Absolutely, because Eriror did lose some time just on this pod Eastern double dip. And maybe a little bit of routing inefficiencies based off not having the hammer for some of his Dark World checks. But he's done so much more overworld than jmeasher has done. So because you got to think about what jmeasher has left, like the Smith Chain south of Village Valcast area is a pretty attractive option. We know that's not going to help get the Cane of Samaria, so we'll have to see.
Yep, and that's the thing. We would need an unobtainable GT Big Key, and for the item that makes it obtainable, either the red cane or the boots, to be hidden outside of GT, because if it's anywhere in GT, jmeasher is almost certainly going to find it first anyway.
Yeah, unless we get the... there we go. We get the big key number 2, so jmeasher is officially in go mode at 57 minutes and 50 seconds. So just got to go up to climb the tower. We'll have a Master Sword Ganon fight unless there's another sword up on the climb.
And welcome to our Raiders from SpeedGaming 3. If you're just tuning in, this has been an absolutely cruel seed for Eriror here. Hammer and Bow were hidden in the back of Thieves Town, sending jmeasher into a 17 out of 22 chance of go mode very, very early. And indeed, he is in go mode, having found the big key in the second chest that he checked in Hope Room.
Yeah, so that decision definitely sprung the lead for jmeasher, but he's also just been playing really well. He's going to have a really great time on the scene. That moth fight he did with 3 hearts and the fighter sword, very impressive. So not only did he make the right decision, he also has just been playing really well. So definitely a good game from him so far.
Yep, when RNGesus is cruel to you, folks like to say it's better to be lucky than good, but in this particular game, up against an opponent like Eri, you need to be both if you want to stand a chance. Unfortunately, jmeasher has been today.
Getting the nice one shot with the spike help on that first Zazik. The next one's being a little bit annoying with his movement patterns. Gonna have to be careful down to 3 hearts and doesn't have, not only does he not have anything in his bottles, he doesn't have a bottle. This is a pretty low safety route even for hard standard.
Yep, no powder. Can't powder this bunny beam for a quick refill here. Didn't have the boots to get over into the safety room. That's the downside of these jet seeds, is you've got to be real confident in your low percent execution.
Yeah, all the time you save by routing quickly and doing a low item GT. You can lose that quickly if you take 2 deaths in the gauntlet. So, and you're gonna have to see the rare version of this room without the Cane of Samaria. You don't see this every day.
Yep, and even when you do see it, the most common way to handle it is just to suck it up and whip out a medallion. Well, that's not an option here today either. And jmeasher is feeling the pressure, taking a death.
That's tough. We know that he's okay. He's so far ahead that he can take that death, but you're still gonna feel really bad because you're up against a runner with as good of execution as Eriror, and you don't know if he made the same play you did with Thieves Town. So you haven't seen the dot done yet, so you're still okay, but you gotta be worried for sure.
Absolutely. It is really easy to imagine a world where Eri matched jmeasher move for move, and that would have been the one slip that cost measher the game. As it is, he still has a very comfortable lead. Although getting less comfortable as he takes more damage here in the spike room.
Yeah, I mean, even for runners of this caliber, going through GT with absolutely no help. You can't have the Zaziks and the guards, they're not dropping hearts at all. You can't do the safety room. No medallions, no powder. I guess you have the Cane of Urna and the cape. That's about the only saving grace you have this seed.
Yep, and with no half magic or or bottles, even those invincibility items, you gotta be judicious with your usage.
Yeah, you can be a little nice when you know you're in one of those rooms with the magic refills, but this is just a tough overall game. The jet seeds, they're fast, but they're not easy. All right, round 2 of the gauntlet.
Measher going a little out of his way for that heart. Every little bit's gonna help here. Every heart that drops is a saving grace.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go through basically this whole Ganon's tower. There's 1 heart under a pot you can get, and then they're in the drop pack that has not that many hearts, the one with arrows.
Taking another heartbreaking hit from the fireball spitter.
Alright, we'll get to see a second land Molas too.
And the second very safe, very clean fight. Let's see how he handles these whiz robes this time.
Yeah, and that was an interesting quick kill shown off by Eriror. That's a really tough one to pull off. All right, able to
Nicely
dispatch
done.
the whiz robes. And not having boots for these rooms, that's another place where this is really going to be rough.
Ooh, taking another little hit from the Trident guards.
Definitely playing it really safe around this fire bar. Do not want to take an unnecessary hit. So he's going to have to defeat one of those Helmosaurs, and then he should be basically in the clear up to Aga. Yeah, playing it nice and safe, not risking the despawn glitch or getting hit by a laser. Just gotta... You don't want to take a death over here.
You do not. And he's going to be checking those chests, hoping to find a tempered sword. Hey, was this an ice rod hunt? It wasn't. Well, then that's useless.
Yeah, we could have even had the Cane of Samaria could even be hiding out here in GT with the way that the pendants were laid out.
Bit of a rude anti-fairy there. No help in that pre-Moldorm 2 chest. Only one more chance to find some sort of safety to take with him into the Aga 2 and Ganon fight.
So I remember about an hour ago when we talked about going out of the way to get the lamp. In jmeasher's case, that's going to be absolutely worth it because without a bottle or half magic, Fire Rod, Master Sword, Silverless, you need to be perfect. You need to get triples every time, hit the torch glitch, and it's very, very difficult. So you would even, if that had been the case, I think he would have gone back to get the lamp if he hadn't elected to get it from the race game, just because that's a guaranteed safety to be able to finish the fight.
Yep, that's a very good point. It only takes messing up that perfect execution fight once to negate the time saving from skipping the lamp.
All right, so we're seeing jmeasher do his Aghanim G test. He's got a single and then a double there, so needs 3 more hits. And I don't know if those both counted, but that was a good spin regardless. And they both did, so there we go. Able to dispatch Aga 2, and we'll go on to the Ganon fight on jmeasher's side. So we'll see if normally you can go and bonk a fairy out of a tree to get a little more health. We'll see if jmeasher wants to just take a death on Ganon right away to get from 2.5 hearts up to like 7. And decides to check the ledge down there just for a sword or something. Any sort of, even a bottle would be nice.
Yep, no help there.
All right, he's going right into a 2.5 heart Ganon fight, and you really can't blame him knowing that you don't know where your opponent is.
Yep, easy to imagine that that Eri is right on his tail, or even just ahead of him for all he knows after that GT death.
All right, getting into phase 2. Just gonna need 12 more spins to get into the later phases. I find that this phase in Master Sword can be quite annoying.
Yep, opting to play it safe, avoiding these bats, not spending magic on any cape shenanigans. Just it's a slow fight, but it's not as slow as taking a death.
Yeah, especially with Master Sword, it makes it even, all the deaths are even worse because the fight, if you die midway through the fight, like significantly more time than if you died halfway through a tempered sword fight.
Ooh, and one of those bats strikes home. jmeasher's going to be starting this fight over again.
Yeah, that's really the downside of the two, because like he still can't survive a hug from Ganon at this heart level, but he'll at least be able to take a fire bat hit now.
Meanwhile, Eri has collected his 7th crystal, defeating Argus, and he is heading up the mountain. He's got a real quick trek into Hope Room to grab his GT Big Key. And then his own gauntlet fight ahead of him, so even with that Ganon death, jmeasher still has a commanding lead here.
jmeasher getting a little bit nicer of patterns on the second phase of Ganon than he was getting last time. Getting that nice double spin should be able to get into the phase 3 now on jmeasher's side, and Eriror getting into GT, so Eriror should be able to at least get his true go mode before jmeasher is able to defeat Ganon.
Yep, and jmeasher did take his one allowed bat hit there.
Yeah, he can still get hit by the fire bats in this next phase because they do not do quite as much damage, but definitely running low. So we're seeing Eriror like to go to the left side, which makes sense because from his point of view, he probably knows he needs it to be locked by King of Samaria to be able to come out on top in this race. And we see jmeasher entering in the 4th phase of Ganon, getting a nice torch glitch, so he's just got 23 more spins, now 22, to defeat Ganon. Seeing him elect to use the fire rod, even with the low magic. Probably will switch to lamp if needed, but he's doing a good job so far.
Yeah, he's making that extra magic usage pay off, setting off some nice triples here.
I believe he's got 13 hits left.
But sure enough, whipping out the old L and R button, getting over to the lamp.
Ooh, that bat interrupting the triple can only take one more hit. I believe he's got 2 more cycles left.
Baiting the bat, avoiding a near telefrag there from Ganon's teleports, but the pig goes down.
Yeah, so jmeasher just got to cross this bridge and he'll be able to lock in a win in this game 1.
He does indeed. Get your GGs in chat for jmeasher finishing with an official race time of 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 48 seconds in this absolute jet seed today.
Yeah, and well, it looks like we'll be able to get these runners to come in for an interview as well, so you can stick around for that.
And we are joined by our winner today, jmeasher. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So, any first thoughts on this seed?
Oh, I am so stressed out right now. I'm really like, we talk about the delay and how it's kind of annoying, but I am really kind of glad that we get a little 10-minute break there, because I don't know that I would have been. I don't know that I've been a very good energy subject immediately after that one finished.
Yeah, how did you feel on your climb? Because we were talking about how when you see that Thieves Town, you got to be thinking that, oh, my opponent could have done this. They could be right on my tail or ahead of me. I've got to go quick through the rest of these pseudo go mode dungeons.
Yeah, I mean, it's just when you have a jet seed like that where, and there's not really, I don't know, there was really much room for doing too much divergence given the item layouts, and like it only makes sense when you get the Dark World access to go to Skullwoods and Thieves Town. So yeah, I was like, it feels like it's super likely that even if I got to that stuff a little bit quicker, that Eri would be right behind me. And the GT climb just, I got the Wizard's one death was really hilarious, because I was just casually quick swapping, like, oh, let's just quick swap over to my cane. Oh wait, there's no cane there. I don't have that. And then just spent the next couple of seconds panicking, trying to figure out what I was going to do in that room at 2.5 hearts. So yeah, it's super stressful, because at this level of competition, any little mistake can cost you a win. So very stressful, but sounds like I had a little more cushion than I was expecting. So I'm fortunate enough to take the win here.
And we are also joined by Eriror. GG, sir.
Yeah, GG, jmeasher. Nice round.
GG.
So just how bad were you feeling when you saw the hammer and bow in Thieves Town, Eri?
Yeah, I didn't feel too great. Like, I assumed there was probably a chance they also skipped it the first time around, but I did a lot before I came back, so there was no way I was feeling good, and there was no way I expected them to probably do the same amount. So yeah, it wasn't great. So I was just mostly hoping to get the GT at least as quickly as possible, to maybe see if cane or boots were required, and then just like maybe bill out, and then hope for the best. But then I dropped into ice armor, saw the dot down. I was like, okay, well, it's just the Bicky's just in hope room then.
Yeah, it sure was. We were talking about it a little bit. I think the first 4 and then bail if you don't have the hammer in Thieves Town, I think is generally a pretty solid play. But from my perspective, I had already done the calculations in my head. Obviously, GT key layout notwithstanding, I was a bow and hammer away from go mode. So I was like, really only the bow could be what kills me here if it's in the big chest, right? So I just go for it. But yeah, no, I think generally if you're not like really thinking about it, and you're just kind of going the way you would normally, like go with the flow the way you normally would, I think bailing after the first one Thieves Town does make sense. But yeah, it's just a really hard punish in this seed.
Yeah, it was just, I wasn't completely like with my head in the routing apparently. I just wasn't thinking, oh, I only need 2 more items. I was like halfway through Hype Cave when I realized, oh wait, I actually don't need that much anymore. So it really makes sense in this situation, like when you just need 1 or 2 more items, and one of them is the hammer, to just full clear Thieves Town. But yeah, it was just a really hard punish. There wasn't much more to it at this point. But yeah, finding both in Thieves Town definitely wasn't the best feeling at that point.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine a harder possible punish given what the seed could have put in Thieves Town than what happened.
Yeah. Because, yeah, like we were talking a bit beforehand, and it's just often after with Skullwoods, and you still need quite a few items, and you're just doing the general clear. It's like, you know what, we'll just be nice and thorough and bring everything along, bring the purple chest along, and then you go to Hype Cave, and then it's like, oh well, I got the flipper, so let's do all the flipper checks as well. And it's like, well, I'm not really finding anything, and not finding Kane, not finding Boots either. Both of them would have been like nice insurance, but it was just, it didn't really work out in this case. But like, just have to adjust in the coming races, and it's just a lesson to be learned. And,
Yeah, I would just say this was a weird seed just in general, with TR, Meyer, Ice being the pendants, and you're pretty much guaranteed to have both like 2 crystals before Dark World access. Yeah, and then Thieves Town and Skull Woods both being crystals, both being clearable right away. Like, it's just kind of a weird seed in general, and you sometimes run across these super jet seeds, and yeah, just at that point it becomes like how risky do you want to be? Like, for me, I was like, I want to at least check the item dense locations that are on my way, but I don't want to check much more than that. Like, I'm not going to go any further in pod if I get the big key. It's just not worth the time when I'm up against a runner of Ares caliber. Like, I had to. There's a whole lot of risk assessment that goes into that you have to be doing on the fly while you're playing the game. It can get really stressful. So, yeah, just a really interesting seed, and we'll see what happens on Saturday for our next one.
yeah, for sure. Looking forward to it.
All right. Well, thanks guys for coming in again. Unless you have any closing thoughts, I think that's all we're gonna need from you guys today.
No, just thanks very much for the race, and looking forward to the race on Saturday.
Yep, same, and thank you for the restream. Thanks to Trackers, Comms, restreamer. Yeah, thanks for putting this on.
Well, thank you guys for running. If you haven't already, guys, definitely give these runners a follow. They put on another great show today. Really fun to watch, and definitely try to catch their next match. That'll probably be another good one. So thanks again for doing this match. Thanks again to the tracker, Scoopula, for helping us out, and my co-commentator, Ben Creighton, did a great job today, made the seat a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming with me. Thanks for putting on a great show, you guys. And you watching at home, stay tuned, because we do have a full schedule during this group stage. Just about 20 minutes ago, Hitsuyan versus Bonta started up on SpeedGaming 2. Starting in about 40 minutes over on SpeedGaming 4, it's going to be Kern versus TJ Maelstrom. And then later on this evening on the restream schedule, we're going to have Dazed Cloud versus Penny Royal Oil at 8:40 Eastern Time on ALTTPR Randomizer. Scarlet versus Alazoon on SpeedGaming 4 at 9:10. And closing out the evening with Flip Heel versus Spleeby at 11:10 for you Night Owls. So keep checking the schedule. There's going to be a lot more fun as this tournament continues.